From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine. Glad you are with us. We are talking politics. We're talking about the role of the Latino vote in the upcoming midterm elections. They're going to play a very big role, as they have in the past few elections. And these midterms are going to be critically important to, obviously, the direction of our country. We have with us a guest we've had before, Raul Lopez. He's founder and executive director of Latinos for Tennessee. And he is joining us via Zoom. Mr. Lopez, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me again. I must have done pretty good if I'm been invited back on, so thank you.
You did well, and it's good to have you back. And last time, so you've talked about this before, and I've asked you what is Latinos for Tennessee, and I certainly want to ask about that. And we've talked about the Hispanic vote, which is incredibly important. One thing we haven't talked about that I have wanted to talk about each time, having read about your background, is just your background. You're obviously very politically involved. You're conservative, and you've had a remarkable sort of career doing all kinds of different things. So walk us through your background. How do you lean politically, and just kind of walk us through your background?
Okay, to answer the last question, I am a conservative Hispanic. I grew up, well, I was born in Havana, Cuba, and that's probably why I lean that way. And me and my family, we escaped when I was 5 years old. And we came via Mexico and then into the United States in an exchange program in Miami, Florida. Actually, New Orleans first and then Miami, Florida. And like every good Cuban, that's where we go. We go to Miami. So anyway, so I spent some time there. And then unfortunately, there was a lot of challenges. My dad was in his late 30s and a career change, and there was a situation with our family and they got a divorce. So my mom moved to California, and I moved to California about second or third grade and on to about junior high. And we moved back to Miami, but the reason we moved from California back to Miami is I got involved in gangs. I got involved in a gang back in the day called F Troop, which is now a part of MS-13, and got heavily involved in that and drugs and all that. So my mom moved us back to Miami, hopefully to get more involvement with my father. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but she got remarried and moved to North Carolina, and we moved to North Carolina, and again, unfortunately, I got involved very involved in drugs and alcohol, and always wanted to move back to California, which I did after I graduated high school. I moved down when I was 17 years old and moved to California, and again, heavily involved a lot with cocaine and marijuana and just a lot of the bad influence. But then in 87, I gave my life to the Lord, and my life changed. Fell in love, quit alcohol, drugs, all that, and found the love of my life. And then we decided California wasn't for us, so we had two places to go, either Tennessee or back to Florida. She was from Florida. And my mom lived in Clarksville at the time, and we moved to Tennessee in 1993. And my mom and I joked at the time that the Hispanic population was about to double, her than me, and which it probably did. And anyway, we've been living here for 30 years and watched the population grow, the culture grow, and Latinos are here to stay. We're 5% of the Tennessee population, well over 100,000 in Middle Tennessee, and love Tennessee and call it home.
You have been big in the prison ministry, right? And you helped with criminal justice reform with our governor, Bill Lee, and the Trump administration. How did that come about? How did you get into all of that? And the whole political side of things. How did you move into politics based on the background you just said?
Okay, both of those are two separate tracks, but politics I got involved with the back in the day when Bush was running for president. He was looking for an Hispanic outreach coordinator, and the state party chair back in the day was Beth Harwell, and she recruited me to do that. I got involved a lot in the grassroots portion of politics. Again, I was about the only Hispanic in town at the day, and particularly in the conservative movement. And that kind of grew and grew, and then got involved with the Bush campaign, then started getting involved more in local with Marsha Blackburn, again, Bill Lee, different candidates throughout the years, but really was focusing on recruiting Hispanics to the conservative movement. And so that's how I got involved in politics. And that grew into not only statewide, but nationally. When the Trump administration came to office, he reached out both for the Hispanic portion as well as the criminal justice reform portion, which I'm also executive director of a prison ministry called Men of Valor. Men of Valor has been around since 1997. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary. Our executive founder passed away in 2014, and I became the executive director. And God is moving in our ministry tremendously. We serve over 90 men in an aftercare reentry service. And in Antioch, Tennessee, we're about to serve 30 more. In Knoxville, we just expanded this year. But for years, the heart of our ministry is the prison ministry also. And we're in every prison ministry in the state of Tennessee, where we teach job readiness programs, we teach addiction programs, we teach spiritual programs, we match them up with mentors, and that's how we got involved with the governor. He was involved with us years before he even thought of running. I can go back when I used to own 3 businesses before I got involved with Men of Valor, and one of them was a courier business, and that's how I got involved with the governor 30 years ago. But that's a different story.
Oh, fascinating. And among all the things you've done, you founded, and you're the executive director of Latinos for Tennessee. And I think you've kind of given us an indication of what it is, but in your words, what is Latinos for Tennessee?
Latino for Tennessee is the only conservative Hispanic organization that is statewide in the state of Tennessee. There are plenty of left-leaning and liberal organizations throughout the state doing great work. We just disagree politically. Great people, great big hearts, but we are the only voice statewide for Hispanics.
And so now let's talk about the role Hispanics will play. How big of a role will they play in these midterms, in your opinion?
Well, we always play a large role, but definitely this midterms. I mean, the polls are all over the place. I mean, President Biden's got, 26% approval rating among Hispanics, lowest of any president that I know in my lifetime. The border states are gearing for Latino vote. More and more Latino votes is going pro-Hispanic, and it's making sense because many of our ancestors, including my family, have lived governments which are more socialistic, more government control, more regulations, more taxes. And we've seen this movie before, and we don't want it anymore. I mean, you see high inflation, you see high gas prices, it's just, and then immigration. A lot of times they think, okay, Hispanics are more for illegal immigration. Well, we're not, and it shows. I mean, again, I was an Hispanic recruited by gangs. Guess who funds gangs? The cartel. What does the cartel do? They affect Hispanics with sex trafficking more than any other group, with drugs, with gang recruitment, with arms that come across the border illegally. It's all funded by the cartel. And if we have rules and laws that allow easier access for them, it really affects our community. And we're realizing that. And now we're starting to be more voting towards Republican.
So I'm looking at a poll here, an Axios poll from March, late March of 2022. So here we are in June. This, is not yesterday, but it's asking about top concerns of Latinos and how they may vote in the midterms. Number one concern was inflation. Even back then, inflation, I think, is going to be the number one concern for anybody, no matter Hispanic or not. It says, and this is a national poll, on a generic congressional ballot question, Latinos were still nearly twice as inclined to say they'd vote for a Democrat, 30%, over a Republican, 17%. Is that what you feel? I mean, do you feel like you're trying to turn the tide, or what do you think about that number?
I don't trust polls too much, but I can understand where that comes from. All I can tell you is my organization. I don't speak for all Latinos, and no Latino should ever say they do, because we come from diverse backgrounds. Cubans are more black and white, and same thing with Puerto Ricans, where Central Americans are more Native Indians. We're diverse in our food and all that. So to try to group us all together, that's hard. That's number one. Number two is, I think Hispanics right now, I mean, you see it time and time again. All I can speak is people that I speak to in Middle Tennessee, and especially during the Black Lives Movement, the riots, and the shutdown of COVID, we had an increasing uptick of people wanting to know about Latinos for Tennessee. And that's what I can speak about. They were concerned about critical race theory and how that isolates our community. They were concerned about the Black Lives Matter movement, that yes, Black lives do matter, but what about the inner cities? What about our gang violence? No one was protesting in the streets about gang members. No one was knocking on their doors. Defunding the police, but yet having chaos and riots in the streets. Hispanics were saying, we've seen this movie before. We don't want to play this game anymore. And to me, all I can talk about is personally with Latinos for Tennessee. During that summer, we have had an increasing rate of people interested in what we have to say.
And so give us, I guess, your pitch, and I think I kind of got it there, about why. All right, it sounds like Latinos, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's hard to put everybody together. I think Democrats for a while thought they're going to get the Latino vote. I think there was a study, I think it was right after Bush was president, that Republicans are in trouble because there are more Latinos moving here, and that's going to be bad news for the Republican Party. What is your argument now to Latinos about why they should vote Republican? Why do you think they should vote that way?
Okay, again, our four pillars are faith, family, freedom, and fiscal responsibility. If you talk about faith, which party closed down churches but left liquor stores open during COVID? Which party permits abortion up to, we're talking about now abortion up to birth, if not even after birth, some Democrats are talking.
Abortion after birth? What do you mean by abortion after birth?
Okay, the Virginia governor, back in the day, said, hey, maybe we should have abortion right afterwards, as long as we keep them safe and all that. I think he just lost.
He might not have meant that, but okay, go ahead if that's your argument.
But even still, even forget that. Just abortion up to the last trimester. Most Hispanics, we don't agree. We believe in the sanctity of life. Okay, we might have debate in between, but the extreme portion where the Democrat Party is going, we don't agree with that. Okay, so that's faith, family. Over and over again, the Democrat Party has supported kicking out parents from school board meetings because of what they might have an opinion on. Hispanics want a voice in the school, what schools talk about. So we're tending more to that. We also believe in school choice. Just because I live in a certain zip code, why do I have to go to that school? I should have access to whatever school, just like anybody else. So we're tending that way. For freedom, Afghanistan was a disaster. And a lot of Hispanics had, over and over again, we've stepped up to the plate and have fought for America and the American way. We have been soldiers for the cause, and what was done in Afghanistan was ridiculous. Freedom also is being challenged on the border. Again, on the border, we have people coming in here illegally. We don't know what they're coming in with. We know they're coming in with sex trafficking. We know we're coming in with drugs that can kill a lot of people, and we know they're coming in with gang members that are recruiting our young people like I was recruiting. And then fiscal responsibility. Oh my gosh, the inflation, highest ever. Gas prices, highest ever. That affects our community greatly. And so that's why we're tending more and more and listening more now to the conservative voice as opposed to the liberal voices, which is failing us.
One of the things they're concerned about, you said, they watched socialism, they watched, government takeover, they watched all kinds of, bad things happen in Cuba and other places. What about what happened on January 6th? In your opinion, was that a legitimate political protest or was it a violent insurrection? What about what happened on that day?
On that day, I don't know how, as far as I know, there wasn't that many Hispanics involved, as far as I know. But also, I think it was just a political protest gone wrong. And if laws were violated, those people should be persecuted, and we move forward. But I don't think it was an insurrection by any means. No, I don't think it was an insurrection by any means. As for Hispanics, we weren't, I don't even know, was there even a Hispanic convicted or accused? So I don't think we're even involved in that situation. But as for that issue involved, I think it was definitely a political protest gone wrong.
Does that level of wrongness in a political protest concern Hispanics who have seen democracies fall in other parts of the world?
No. Number one, other parts of the world, it's usually the government that stamps it down, not the people protesting. It's dictators and that so to speak. And that's why we're very anti too much government, too much regulations. Look at Venezuela. The way too much, that causes inflation, that causes poverty, that causes on and on and on things. So too much government control is more of a concern than anything else.
All right, I'm going to go to a call, then we'll go to a break. I promise. Let's go to Mike, and people can call in now. That kind of sets the table. Mike's waited for a long time, and so I'm just going to take him before we go to break. Hello, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, Dan?
Fine, go right ahead.
Yeah, and good evening to your guest. This is what I can't understand. You talk about morals, and your leader, Donald Trump, has done everything to try to stage a coup, but it wasn't successful, thank goodness. He even tries vengeance, crawled out for vengeance to his biggest lapdog, Vice President Mike Pence, to be hanged. You had people cheering that and saying that. He had no problem with that, or denounced that among his clans, people who go and support him. But it seems like people like you, another former drug addict like Mike Lindell with the My Pillow guy, that I don't know if the drugs kind of played with your mind, but how do you pledge allegiance to such a demagogue as Donald Trump, your leader, and have him talk about the Mexican part of the Latin community, saying that they're rapists, they're predators? How dare you stand up and align yourself with somebody like that? And
all right, let's so he has some critical things to say there. I think it's the question about, Donald Trump did say some tough things about Hispanics and specifically Mexicans and that kind of thing. That part of this, what do you say to what Mike said there?
What I remember was the president was talking about those that are coming here illegally, that some of them was a large percentage of not those that, I don't know, were great or whatever. Bottom line, my allegiance is not to Donald Trump. My allegiance is to the United States of America. I voted for Trump and I support Trump, but my allegiance is to the United States of America. And I always talk about faith, family, freedom, and fiscal responsibility. And was he a perfect person? No. But he stood after those principles, which the Democratic Party doesn't. Again, the Democratic Party does not represent the sanctity of life. The Democrat Party believes in spending more money, thus inflation and high gas prices. We were energy independent. Now we're paying crazy amount of price, and we're no longer energy dependent. Again, the Democrat Party did not believe in keeping churches open. They only believed in keeping liquor stores open. We can go on and on and on. Bottom line is, I do not agree with liberalism. My family lived it, and we know that movie has a very bad ending.
All right. That sets the table for our discussion. There is the number 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We will take a break. Be back right after this.